Hello everybody, welcome to this week's teaching overview video for the 1st of February. Now, as we kick off this new month, we are coming into Valentine season. So we're going to be spending the next few weeks looking at true love. What is biblical love and what does it look like in our different relationships? So we're going to talk about friendships, our families, and in marriage and more romantic relationships. So it's just a good time of year to teach the children about how we are to love others with godly love, and what that looks like in our life and in our relationships. So we are going to start off today by talking about 1 Corinthians 13 and talking about friendships. So as always, let's just begin with a recap of last week's session. We all finished looking at faith. We were all together in Horsham, all the congregations, and we finished talking about faith by looking at Gideon and his 300 men and how God used them to defeat the Midianites. So see what the children can remember from our theme of faith. And then, we're going to move on to talking about true love. So for consecrate, I'll quickly, most of all the details are in your notes, but you are going to start off with just a discussion. Dave's put some discussion questions in there. Then you're going to talk about friendships, what do good, bad friendships look like, and then you guys are just going to read through 1 Corinthians 13 and discuss that, and then he's put some response questions on the back. But yeah, go have a look, all your details are in your notes. For the children today, we are going to do something very similar, with a few more games and visuals in there. So a little game you can start off with or do it at the end. Hopefully this is going to work. Sent you all some tissue paper love hearts, and then I'll send enough pegs for each child to have a peg. So you just need to sit the children in a circle or stand, give them a peg, and you need to see if you can pass your tissue paper love heart around the circle, but they can only use their peg. So obviously they'll need to be very gentle and wait for the next person to grab it, and just see if you can get the love heart all the way around the circle without ripping it. And if it's too easy for your group, then you can start timing them and race, see how quickly they can get it around the circle without ripping it. Let's see how it goes. I've put 2 in there in case your one does rip very quickly. So there should be 2 in there, should be enough pegs. Give it a go. Let me know if it works, if they enjoy it. Okay, so you can do that if you want, play that at the beginning. And then we're going to talk about Valentine's Day, about friendships. So what makes a good friend? What is a bad friend like? Let's just get a discussion going. You can do a mind map, you can talk about it, whatever. But what is a good friend like? They're going to be encouraging, they're going to be kind, they're going to remember important things about us, whereas maybe friends that aren't so good, they're not going to include us in things. Maybe they talk about us behind our back, they're not very kind to us. So we just want to start with a discussion about what makes a good friend. And we want to encourage the children that they need to be the friend that they want to have. If we want to have good, godly friendships, then we need to be that good friend. So how do we have friendships with godly, biblical love in them? So for the younger ones, you, after your little discussion, can then read through Love Is from the Biggest Storybook Bible. It basically just goes through 1 Corinthians 13, but it just writes it out really nicely. I think we used this one last year, but it just, writes it very well. So younger groups, you can read that, and then the older group, we can just read through 1 Corinthians 13 from the Bible. And then again, we've done this a couple of years in a row, but we're just laying it out a little bit differently. You're going to have 2 posters. You're going to have Love Is and Love Always, and you're going to have a not so good one, Love Is Not, Love Never. And then we will send you all of the attributes from 1 Corinthians 13 and some blue tack. And after you've read through 1 Corinthians 13, the story, let's then just get discussing with the kids. Let's go through each of these attributes and get them to help you to stick them to the right love heart. So we want to talk about the attributes of love in the context of friendships. So love is always kind, love is patient. So what does that look like in our friendship? Love is not rude, it's not boasting. And just talk about, okay, so how can we do or not do these things in our friendships? So you can just do that to use that to let the teaching teach itself, basically. And then after that, let's just pray, and let's just encourage the children to ask God to help them to be a godly friend, help them to choose the right friendships. Obviously, maybe with some of the older ones, we want to remind them that they don't have to be everybody's best friend, and if someone isn't very kind to them, they don't have to always play with them or be friends with them. You can still love someone and not necessarily have to be their friend, because I know it's a funny age when they start trying to figure out friendships, and there can be a little bit of bullying in school. So yeah, we want to encourage them to think wisely about who they choose as friends, and loving someone doesn't always mean you have to be friends with them if they're not very kind. Okay, and then our craft is kind of going to follow on with the teaching today. I'm going to send you all some little cards that they can make for a friend. So it'll be a card, an envelope, and then they can decorate, draw, write. We'll send stickers, and we want to encourage them to write a thoughtful or encouraging card for one of their friends to bless a friend, basically, and just to do something practical. So you can do that as part of the teaching in your craft, however you want to do it, but that's a little practical response for what we've talked about in the session. And then after that, for the older ones, once you've done the cards, there is a fill in the blank of the scriptures, and I've got the answers there. And then we have a colouring with our memory verse today. So our memory verse is, these three remain: faith, hope and love. And obviously we know the greatest of these is love. So yes, today's all about friendships, and next week we will move on to family and then like romantic relationships or marriage. So don't feel like you have to cover it all. Today's just friendships. All right, I believe that is everything. There are some songs on your USB stick. We've got God is Love, which is a nice background song. There's like another background video is the Feels Good song, which is about all being together. So that might be a nice one to play today as we talk about friendships. The training, we have our online training, which is on the Youth and Children's tab on mykingdomfaith.com. If you haven't started that yet, please go over to mykingdomfaith.com and start the training. There's 4 half-an-hour sessions that Dave has done, and we would just love everyone to complete this, so we're all on the same page, we have the same vision, and there's just lots of important information as well as tips for teaching and being with the children. So we would encourage everyone to complete this by the end of February. So please go and finish that or start that if you haven't yet. If you have any questions or feedback, please let Dave or I know. It's always very helpful to know how the groups are going, and also just to hear yeah, what's good, what's not so good. Okay, hope you have a great week, and I will hopefully see you soon.